We have big news in Vancouver. The Canucks and JT Miller have agreed to a long-term deal. We'll discuss this contract and what it means for the cap situation in Vancouver coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant news out of Vancouver this evening. JT Miller and the Vancouver Canucks have come to terms on a long-term contract, which I think is probably fair to say a lot of people never really saw it coming, considering how all reports have indicated for quite some time just how far apart these two sides have been in negotiations. The Canucks have been on record publicly with Jim Rutherford, Patrick Allred, making comments saying about how they were concerned, I guess, with the term and cap hit for a player, about to enter his 30s. But they came pretty close to offering, obviously, something he was very happy to sign. He was probably left a little bit of money on the table here. I think he could have probably gotten a little bit more in free agency, but still a pretty lucrative deal. It's a 7-year contract valued at $56 million. So that's 7 times 8. So $8 million cap hit for Miller, who's currently 29 years old, coming off a 99-point season. He's a phenomenal player. He's had a real solid career, obviously, with some of his best production coming most recently here last year in Vancouver. Obviously, they expect and hope that he can maintain those kind of point totals and production moving forward to make sure this contract ages well. This will take him to age 37. Obviously, given the 1 year remaining on his existing deal, with a 7-year extension, that gives him 8 more years in Vancouver, including the upcoming season, which essentially and most likely should take him to the end of his career. Hopefully, he's able to stay healthy and play out the string here and get to the end. But this is a short term. I like this deal because JT Miller, like I said, he's a real good player. If the Canucks ended up trading him like many of us thought was going to happen, in the short term at least, it would have been tough to win that deal and tough for them to remain as good and as competitive as they showed that they could be last year, as relevant as they were to kind of stay in the playoff hunt. So I think like short term, I like it. Now, a couple other quick terms with this contract too. For the first 4 years of the deal, he has a full and complete no move clause, no trade clause. So nothing can be done without his consent in those first 4 years. The final 3 years, it changes from a full no trade to a modified no trade, where there'd be a list of teams that would have to be submitted every year. So obviously they've given him a lot of control in that sense here as well. Now, of course, like cap-wise, it really kind of makes things difficult moving forward, in my opinion. That's my only concern here, which is I knew like Patrick Allred and Jim Rutherford talked a lot this offseason about wanting to create cap flexibility. That was their primary right at the top of the list thing to accomplish this offseason, and they really haven't done it. They have not really moved out anything significant to cut costs down at all to create extra cap space. With all that not happening, obviously they signed Besser, which was not surprising. They got him under his qualifying offer. The Besser deal looks pretty good. Obviously you got Pettersson, who's got a couple more years left. Hopefully he can rebound and have a better season coming up here. So I'll have to think about him. Bo Horvat, the captain, also in the same boat as Miller, except there really wasn't the speculation around him that he was going to be traded. Many felt there was good likelihood that he would end up getting an extension worked out and stick around. So if they sign Horvat as well, which is somewhat expected to happen, that means that they're going to have a lot of these guys that that they currently have that they're going to be committed to and winning. They're trying to win with this core group, and I guess that's the question: was that the right thing to do, or should a Miller trade have happened to kind of maybe restock a little bit for the future, change the dynamic a little bit? It's hard to say. Like I really like Miller. Like I said, short term, I think it's good. I just wonder about their long term cap situation. Rutherford himself said early on after taking over from Jim Benning that this team is not a Stanley Cup contender. They're nowhere near it. Therefore, they should not be capped out. They should not be maxed out at the cap. And his primary objective was to create flexibility while getting some of their key players looked after at the same time. And that's why we thought we'd see more of that this offseason, and we have not. So with a commitment now to Miller, which I still think, like I said, it's not as bad as it could have been. So I do like the contract. I think it'll age well in the short term. I just really am concerned over their cap situation for the next couple of years for their ability to make improvements, especially on the blue line. Their blue line is certainly an area of the team that does concern me. That's by far, I think, their biggest weakness. They have some really good forwards. They have an excellent goaltender in Thatcher Demko, but they need that flexibility. So at some point, somebody in the higher contract values within their team is going to have to be moving out. Like that Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Connor Garland trade right now, as we talked about back earlier this offseason, revisiting it a year later, is really looking bad in my opinion. That OEL contract is atrocious, and if that wasn't there right now, they would be in so much better spot, and they could easily spend that money improving it on other defensemen. So we'll see what happens, but like I said, short term, I like the contract for Miller. Hopefully it ages well, but they have to obviously find another way to create this flexibility that they've been talking about, and they do need it to improve other areas of the team. So we will see. Is this the right move for Vancouver to sign him to this long-term deal, or should they have proceeded with a trade like many had speculated throughout the last several months? So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. Of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.